This lens costs $50 and this lens costs $500. So what's the difference? And why would you pay 10 times more? In today's video, we'll find out. The $50 lens that I'm using today is the Canon EF 50mm f1.8, and it's widely regarded as one of the best value lenses ever made. If you're just getting into photography and you're wondering what you should buy next, it's normally this lens. It's available on secondhand websites for a really low price. I got it for around $50. So let's take a deeper look at what you get at this price point. The lens itself is pretty small and lightweight. It's mostly a plastic construction. There's not going to be much metal here, although it does have a metal lens mount. But the real star of the show here is the f1.8 aperture. That's really wide for a cheap lens like this, and it means it's going to let in a lot of light, and you can get some great results, especially with portraits. It'll open up nice and wide and give you that shallow depth of field. So let's take a look at what some of the shots could look like. Nice.
Oh.
That's the cheaper. You can see here, sharpness is great. It renders skin tones really nicely. The background autofocus elements are pretty smooth, and you get amazing depth of field, all for $50. This lens really opens up to f1.8 and allows you to get some really lovely shots. Let's have a look. And then do you want to try running? But I'm gonna need to catch you in the... Yeah.
Ooh, that looks great. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Right. Now this particular lens has 7 rounded aperture blades. Normally, the more aperture blades, the better, because that's going to control what the outer focus elements look like. With 7, that's pretty good. It may still seem a little busy in some backgrounds, but overall, you're going to get some nice outer focus shapes. Sharpness is pretty decent in the center of the frame, even wide open. You can obviously stop it down to get a sharper image, but if you have a 1.8 lens, you might as well shoot at 1.8 in my opinion. With portraits, my subject is normally in the center of the frame, so center sharpness is the most important. If you look at the corners, it's going to begin to look a little bit soft, but for $50, what can we really complain about? Now, autofocus is pretty accurate and pretty quiet, thanks to Canon's STM motor on this model. Some of the older models of this lens though, without the STM motor, really make a racket, so make sure you're picking up a decent version. Now we do have to talk about the build quality, and it's not great. It's very plasticky, and I would not be confident if I dropped this on the concrete that I could pick it up and it would still keep working. All in all, the durability probably isn't going to be very good. For a professional, that would be a real issue if you're using this every day as a workhorse lens. But for a casual photographer who's just looking to shoot wide open and get some great shots, that's where this one shines. It's still going to hold up pretty well. I quite like the fact that it's so lightweight and it's all pretty tightly held together, even if it does feel a little bit cheap. It's certainly not the worst build quality that I've seen on a lens, that's for sure. Now, so far it's been pretty positive, and it kind of begs the question, why would I spend 10 times more than this for a lens that has the same focal length? Well, this is the Sigma 50mm f1.4, and it's a very different proposition. Straight off the bat, the first thing that you're gonna notice is this thing is weighty. It's built like an absolute tank. It's completely metal and rubber construction, and it feels like a completely professional level piece of equipment. There's a lot of glass in here. Now, the real truth of the matter is that when you get to this level of equipment, a lot of what professional photographers are willing to pay for is build quality and durability. Like I mentioned before, this is something that could be used every single day for 10 years, and it would still hold up brilliantly. I could drop it, pick it up, and I would have no qualms, it would still be working. This is the kind of thing that I need when I'm shooting a wedding or when I'm shooting a paid portrait session, and I just can't have the fact that my lens could fall apart with one wrong move. But in this case, it's not just the durability that you're paying for. This lens is optically excellent, and it's widely regarded as one of the best 50mm lenses ever made. So let's see what that performance looks like. This is where the f1.4 aperture is really going to shine, I think, with the subject who's close to the camera, throwing the background into much more out of focus elements. And you can see the difference between the two on the screen now. This lens has a maximum aperture of f1.4, and whilst that doesn't sound too much more than f1.8, it actually lets in 1.66 times as much light, which is equal to 2/3 of a stop of exposure. Really handy in low light situations. Let's have a look at what this lens looks like all the way open. In a low light situation, you're going to notice a big difference when you don't have to pump up that ISO number to compensate.
Aww, that looks great.
Now, remember when we said the Canon had 7 rounded aperture blades? That's pretty good for a cheap lens, but this one has 9. When you combine that with the faster aperture of f1.4, you're going to have a real noticeable difference in the background of your images. You can see on the cheaper lens, when I take some pictures, the background is really quite messy and it kind of doesn't smooth out against the subject. With the more expensive one, that's not the case, and you get that super dreamy, super smooth, out of focus elements that you'll pay the big bucks for. So you can see it's actually a pretty complicated equation. Whilst you do get better optical performance from the 50mm lens, would I say it was 10 times better than the cheap version? At the same time, the cheap version is great that it exists, and it's a really good entry-level point for photographers. Like I said before, a lot of what you pay for is that durability and build quality, the weather resistance, and just the peace of mind that you can use this piece of equipment every single day and it won't break down. But is it worth it? Well, that's a question only you can answer. What do you reckon? Does the cheap and cheerful 50mm do the trick? Or would you spend 10 times extra to get the professional looking quality of the Sigma? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I've got new videos that come out every single week here on YouTube. It'd be great to have you along for the journey. And I will see you next time.